Hello, it is Miss Jody. I was going to make this video, I am making this video for my teachers and parents to help families set up their homework space for kiddos. And I thought I would just make a generic one and post it here for you guys as well. One of the big things that was an issue last year as we all tried to create makeshift schools in our homes was just thinking about the general setup and how the setup could make kids more successful. As an OT, one of the first things that I look at when I go into a kid's classroom is their desk and their chair height. And one of the things I talked about is when we go from school environment to home environment, we go from furniture that fits kids to furniture that does not fit kids. So if it is at all possible, what I am suggesting to the parents that I work with is if they can set up or if they have access to a child-sized table and chair, because when furniture fits, we have better attention and we're in a better position to color, draw, write, color, do all the things that kids need to do. So ideally, in an ideal world, a child would sit in a chair where their feet are flat on the floor, their bottom's on the floor, and they have something to rest their back on. That helps them know where their body is in space. It helps them pay attention. It decreases wiggling, and it just puts them in a position where they can do their work. If they are sitting at a regular kitchen table or even at a high bar top, the table is usually too high, and so it's harder for them to see and do whatever it is that they need to work on for school. It may make the child wigglier because they're trying to figure out where their body is in space. You might find them kneeling on the chair, trying to stand, one leg on, one leg off, and so it's just a harder position for them to participate. So that's one aspect that I wanted to talk about. If you do not have access to a child-sized table or chair, some other things that you can do could be to position them seated at a coffee table. So maybe take a couch cushion or something that they can kneel on. Maybe push the table up against a wall so that they have kind of a surface behind them, but the table is at a spot where they can kneel at and do their work at. You could even have them take a clipboard and sit against the wall so their body was more in contact with the floor, kind of grounding them in that position again while doing their work on a clipboard. That's another way to help kind of focus their bodies. Another thing that is sometimes helpful to give students a visual boundary is we've used painter's tape or even colored duct tape to kind of square off of an area so that when a child is in that space, they know this is where they're doing their work. So even if they need to have all of that extra movement, we can kind of visually plot out a space where they have to move within that specific area as opposed to kind of running all over the place. So that's just another visual cue that you can do. As far as setting up the environment, ideally you want your child to be in a space that is free of distractions and free of preferred activities. So not near television, not near Xbox, not in the kitchen where people are coming and going, getting snacks and those kind of things, but in a spot that is consistent and in a way that they can, they know that when they are going into that space, they are going to school, that this is where I'm going to do work. This is where I'm going to do my therapy. So, and having that be consistent. Obviously, a well-lit room, it would be beneficial, and access to whatever school supplies that they need. You probably get a list of things that your teacher wants you to have. One thing that I find that is helpful, I have usually, like when I go into the classrooms, I bring in these kind of caboodles, and so everything's all in one space. But what you want to make sure that you have access to at every session, just because you never know what you're going to need, are some pencils and sharpened pencils with erasers, markers. I prefer these little pipsqueak markers. They're shorter and they're just nice for little hands to get on, and it promotes a better grasp. Crayola makes them. You can get them at Walmart or Target. Not mandatory, but just letting you know my preference. Glue or glue sticks, that would be helpful. Kid-size scissors. So at the end of fourth quarter, there was a lot of families who didn't have access to kids' scissors at home, so they were using big grown-up scissors, and that was kind of hard for them. So access to use some small kid-sized scissors. Some blank paper for drawing, so just even some printer copy paper, just cheap blank paper, to do some drawing, and some grade level lined paper. So, and between your classroom teacher and your occupational therapist, we can kind of troubleshoot which kind of paper is best for your kiddo to be using. Lined paper helps give them visual boundaries for where to put their letters and numbers and those kind of things. So also, if you have access to a small dry erase board and marker, that can be used for lots of different activities during virtual learning. So those are just some of my suggestions. If you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out and ask. And I hope you guys are all doing well. Arizona kids started back in my district today, so today is the first day of school. Super strange way to start the year, but we've got this one day at a time.